folks, this is Ariel over at Nyth. Today I thought I would do a little house update as well as a tour of what my house looks like right now, which should be fun because it's changed a bit since the last real house tour I did shortly after I'd moved in, which is more than 2 years ago now. And also just mention a couple things that I got asked a lot of questions about in my last video. And the one big one is, even though I didn't show it in my video talking about living in a tiny house in a cold climate, I do have a CO2 detector. There are several folks who are concerned about me, which I appreciate. I do have one, and that is important. I just didn't show it in that video. So anyway, don't worry about that. I just got home from working earlier today, so my house is not particularly tidied. So I'm going to show you what things look like when a house is not cleaned up to do Tiny House Swoon pictures. I like my house being neat and tidy anyway. I'm just a person who gets stressed out easily by things being messy and cluttered, so it doesn't usually get too bad, but it is not always picture perfect. So I'm just going to kind of do that, as well as pointing out the things that are different than the last time I did a full house tour. Let's start over here at my door. Not really much has changed right at the door, but I have since added my little mudroom. I've got my coat rack here. I do live in a cold place. I have not minimalized to one coat by any means. I have lots of scarves, lots of coats, jackets, sweatshirts, and they work. They all hang right here. I'm not sure how well the video shows this, but down here I've put little hooks on the wall, and these work great for holding small shoes and sandals and things like that, and keeping them up and out of my way. I also have a little pan that I can set wet or muddy footwear in, where it can drain and not make a puddle on the floor. The hooks don't work for things like boots. My new favorite clothing item is my brand new handmade fur boots, which are amazing. They have kept my feet so warm and cozy, which is a big deal for me. I've always had cold feet. So that's my little mudroom. In the living room, again, it's not always perfectly tidy. I like to have some blankets handy for when I want to curl up on the couch. I like keeping them folded, but they're not always. This couch does transform into a little bed as well. Let me just demonstrate that. There's a pin that locks that there, but flips up, and this cushion comes off, and voila, you've got a little guest bed, lounge area, whatever you'd like. Very easy to put back and get out of the way. If you're not already aware, the couch also doubles as storage. This part of the L has just random extra things I don't get to very often. This whole long part has my battery bank and other parts of my power system. If you want to see more details on those, check out my solar system video. Anyway, that's the couch. I'm going to have to move the camera so you can actually see the storage loft. Again, this has things I don't access a ton. I keep some canned food up there, other random paperwork and things in some of these boxes that I don't need to get to frequently. People ask me, how do I reach that? I don't have a ladder. I can easily stand on my couch and I can reach everything up here. Then I do seem to always have a stack of things. This is just mail, things that accumulate until I have time to deal with them. Every now and then I go through it, but tiny houses have things stacks as well. As you come this way around the wood stove, I'm going to grab the camera. Around the wood stove here, which is running and nice and toasty, you can see there is some dirt. I'm going to get down here so you can actually see. With a small stove, it's hard to not have bits of ash fall out on my hearth. By the way, this looks like wood. Somebody else asked about that. These are actually tiles. They are not flammable, and they do protect the cork floor, which could be. So I get some dirt there. I also get, because wood stoves are dusty, you can see maybe up here on the curtain, I get dust flakes. In relation to that, if I was building again my kitchen shelving, I would have made closed cupboards just to keep the dust out. But they're open and it's okay. I'm going to show you what I don't think you could see before. That's my storage loft, the little cupboard in the middle. Like I said, I keep canned goods in, other random paperwork in the boxes. My library of books I have kept, and I do know I could go digital. I like physical books. I like antique books. I like the smell of old binding glue and paper. So a few from my grandfather and other things that are special to me I've kept. This side has some photo albums, which eventually I do plan to downsize by turning some of those into more compact forms of photography storage. Over here, because you couldn't see all this, that is my shoe rack. You can see the little individual hooks. They were, oh, and there's my CO2 detector actually saying 0. But those hooks were free. They were torn off of discarded items. And there's my pan where I throw wet things like gloves and boots. These boots weren't wet, but you can see I've just got one of those little bath mat things and a rubber pan. Works pretty handy for containing dirt and melting water. Going to come back this way now. Prop my camera back here so I can do some more demonstrating. In the kitchen, got my stove, oven. Like I said, I would probably redo, if I had it to do over, the cupboards to have doors on them just to keep dust out, and I think it makes everything look a little more clean and tidy and closed off, even if you just have glassware in neat rows. To my eye personally, it looks more cluttery than just a closed white cupboard door. But it works, as I said. I do, you might notice, keep my curtains. These are blackout curtains. They close and you can't see anything from outside. They also would retain some heat, but especially during the day because I've got plants that need sunlight. And during the winter, when condensation does build up in places not nearly as bad as before a wood stove, but if you trap air up against the window, you're going to get more condensation. So I do often not only hook the curtain back, but tuck the tails up like that, so that I'm not trapping a little puddle of cold air to keep a little wet spot in the wood right here. My kitchen. If you can see the color, and I'll move the camera again to show you this better, I have my house about half painted. I have been meaning to paint it since I first got it. I'm partially done, and maybe by the end of summer, or the end of winter before summer, I will actually get it finished. I was going to wait to do a full house tour till I did, but I've been waiting a while, so you're just going to get a house tour of a half-painted tiny house, which I guess is part of living in something. So my wood was originally all natural pine, which is really pretty. I like natural wood, I like the wood grain, but it was a lot of wood because the floor's cork, it looks wooden, the walls, the ceiling, the furniture, everything was the same, and over time the wood darkens, and so I like white. What I did was make a whitewash paint that was about 1/3 paint and 2/3 water, and did a single coat so you can still see the wood grain through the paint. And I'm working at painting almost everything white, which you can probably see best right here. If you can see that knot, it'll show you a little bit how you can still see the wood grain. And the trim, I've been making a dark gray. Again, it's a semi-transparent finish on there. This is actually the same gray that is on the exterior of my house. I just like the color. So when I'm done, the walls and trim will all be gray and white, but right now they're only partially done. Back to the lived in part, there's some dirty dishes in my sink. I've been at work at 5 a.m. the last 3 mornings. Sometimes those things accumulate, and with hauling my water by hand, I try to be efficient with it, so it really is more useful to wait till you have at least a handful of dishes to wash them all at once, so you don't have to run hot water for each individual dish that I make dirty. Anyway, this door I often leave open. It's the bathroom door. It's usually just me here, so I don't bother to close it. I keep a rack on, this is the back of the door. Let me close it there. I've got too much clothes on it. My rack is where I keep my half-used clothes. Some people do this, some don't, but if I've worn something lightly once, it doesn't need wash, but it's not clean, it goes on this rack so that I know it's not clean, but I still have it accessible to wear again before it needs washed. So I go back to behind the door here. This is where my fridge is, a little more storage. And And, you know, I've got some more pantry items there. This pantry holds the majority of my food storage. You can see my spice racks on the doors. So that is kind of the kitchen. I'm going to grab the camera here again and do a little bit more of a close-up here so you can see the wood grain showing through the white paint there. And also up here by the light where it's lit up nicely, you can see the wood grain through the gray stain as well. Now, people are probably going to ask me what fruit I have. Let's just make it easy. This is the brand. It's a... I forget the model. I will look up the model and put that in the notes. Handy little fridge. Keep the little freezer pretty full. Makes it easier to keep cold. And then you come into the bathroom. My bathroom is small. Having a lot of space was not important to me for my bathroom. I do have a Nature's Head composting toilet. Works very well with a single person using it and composting worms in it. If you have more questions about those things, I have quite a few posts on that, but I only empty it about once every 3 or 4 months, so it's not a big issue. My little tiny house trash can here was actually a Kmart toilet paper holder. Works great for a bathroom trash can. Keep a little spray bottle to spritz some vinegar water in the toilet to wash it out. Or rinse it every time it's used. Here, I better keep the camera this way. It's my little vanity. I've got one of these storage mirror thingies. Keep a few more medical and hygiene supplies that I like a lot. I got it for $15 from a secondhand store. In here, this is, if I can back up, this is my shower. My shower works perfectly fine and I don't use it. You probably already know this if you've been following me. I use it as my clothes storage, my hanging clothes. Down here there is other odds and ends of things like folding chairs, toilet paper, the paint that I'm using and not done painting with, etc. But I close that and that stays all nice and tidy looking. So that's the little floor plan on my little tiny bathroom. If you're wondering where I do shower, I have a gym membership anyway, and it's simply easier to shower there than to go carry water to constantly refill my water tank, which would get emptied rapidly if I showered here. So if you need more details on my water system, I have posted about that as well. Now we're going to go upstairs, which might be a bit awkward carrying the camera. Oh, let me show you this. I have a curtain that I hang across there. First of all, I have a semi-wall. Lets me hang a screen, which is nice. I don't have a TV connection. I can just use it for watching Prime movies, things like that. But that wall, you'll see on the other side, has storage, but it also blocks a lot of the heat from the wood stove, which keeps my sleeping area cooler, which I really like because I like to sleep cool. The curtain was added to keep it even cooler. I can open or close that. It's a temporary arrangement. At some point, I might actually put a door here. That's something I would do where I'm starting right now. But if I open the curtain, let some heat up here. This is my bedroom. Again, we are doing a lived-in tiny house. That bed is not perfectly made, as you can see. And I would guess, if I was going to generalize, that most people with loft beds do not always make them because they're a little bit of a pain to make. And as I said, I was off to work at 5 this morning, and yes, my bed did not get made. But I'm going to keep coming up here, get a little antique chest, some books, and if I come the hallway over here, I'll be able to turn around and see the cabinets there, which I have for mostly storage for outdoor gear and such, backpacking things and items like that. And there you can see the back side of the curtain, back down into the downstairs. This loft window is open a crack. This one I keep open almost 100% of the time. Lets me have some fresh air for sleeping, makes sure the house has some good circulation, and helps keep my bedroom sleeping air nice and cool and fresh. Come back over here where I can look out. Oh, this is a good place to see my half-done paint job. If you can see that line right there, that's one of the spots where the painting stopped until I'm finished. So again, you can see how the wood grain still shows, if it'll focus, through the finished paint, but it's a little lighter and brighter. Then we can look down on the whole overview of the living room, my messy collection on my folded up table, all of that stuff. And I think that that is about it. So I'm going to sign off. If I missed something important, let me know. Ask me questions. I do have a YouTube channel. I have a blog. I've got lots of photos. I've got lots of posts. I try to get to answering everybody's questions sooner or later, but if you check all those out, I might have already answered your question. If not, ask away. Hope you folks have a lovely evening and a good start to your week. Thanks for following. Talk to you later.